The universe is so ancient that it is impossible for us to grasp all the time that has passed since it came into existence. After all, it is literally all the time in the world, since time itself originated along with the universe in the Big Bang. In other words, it is impossible for us to even conceive of anything older than the universe. And this is part of a natural human incapacity. Just as a calculator may not be able to display a gigantic result that is beyond its processing capacity, our brain also suffers from some limitations when processing very large numbers. An example of this is when we think about the meanings of a million and a billion. Both are enormous numbers. But have you ever stopped to consider how far apart they are from each other? Think about the following. A period of 1 million seconds is equivalent to 12 days. A billion seconds is equivalent to 32 years. This also applies to money. A millionaire is much closer to someone with a zero-balance bank account than to a billionaire. Looking at numbers from this perspective helps us to have a better understanding of the different orders of magnitude. And this is especially useful when we are talking about gigantic periods of time. This is what is called deep time. This concept was developed in the 18th century by the Scottish geologist James Hutton. He is considered the father of modern geology, as he was responsible for observing that the cycles of destruction and renewal of the Earth's surface are extremely slow processes that occur only over billions of years.
Hey, Pedro here. This video you are watching was originally in Portuguese, my native language. This is the attempt of our team to translate it to English, and I sincerely hope you enjoy it. Your feedback is extremely important to us. Now, back to the video.
Hutton summarized the history of the Earth with the following expression: no vestige of a beginning, no prospect of an end. And note that he was only talking about our planet, which emerged just 4.5 billion years ago according to current studies. When we think of the universe as a whole, which is about 14 billion years old, it becomes even more complex to comprehend the entire passage of time. And this happens because in addition to our difficulty in grasping gigantic numbers, our perception of time itself is also very flawed. You have certainly been confused trying to remember when something happened, whether it was a few days or a few weeks ago, and generally a few years ago. The more time passes, the more our perception is prone to errors. When you try to remember something from your childhood, you probably don't remember exactly what year it happened. And besides that, have you ever had the impression that time used to pass more slowly? When we were children, it felt like childhood would last forever. The years were long, and it seemed like adulthood would never arrive. If you are still a child, spoiler alert, it will come. And you will miss your childhood dearly, so enjoy it for me. But why do we have this impression in childhood, and then when we become adults, the years seem to pass faster and faster? The explanation is kind of mathematical. Think with me. When you are 10 years old, a period of 1 year is equivalent to 10% of everything you have lived so far. In other words, waiting until your next birthday, for example, means living again 10% of everything you know as life, since the beginning of your existence here on Earth. This is without considering that in the first few years you remember practically nothing. When you are, say, 50 years old, a period of 1 year is equivalent to only 2% of everything you have lived. This means that, until you turn 51, you will only relive 2% of the entire period that has passed since you were born. In other words, the year will seem much shorter. Now imagine for someone who reaches 100 years of age. In that case, each year represents only 1% of that person's entire history. This person was born before the First World Cup, before the Second World War. For someone who has seen all this happen, a year seems to pass very quickly. This helps us understand why our perception of time is distorted. It is extremely subjective. We ourselves are ephemeral beings, subject to the passage of time. Therefore, we do not have the necessary detachment to understand the flow of time in an objective and impartial manner. And for this reason, the best way to solve this problem is by seeking precisely this distancing, putting time in a perspective different from the one we are living. And this idea can be used, including, to help us better understand the concept of deep time. In other words, if instead of thinking about the 14 billion years themselves, we transport this period to a different and much smaller window, it becomes much easier for us to visualize the history of the universe. And it was with this in mind that the American scientist Carl Sagan developed a simple yet perfect reasoning for us to better observe how things have happened since the Big Bang. And I am talking about the cosmic calendar. The idea here is to take the entire history of the universe and condense it into the period of 1 year. That is, we imagine that the Big Bang happened exactly at midnight on January 1st, and that the present time when you are watching this video is the exact moment of the turn of the year between December 31st and January 1st of the following year. This means that within this scale, the 14 billion years are seen as just 365 days. That is, each second on this calendar equals almost 500 years of the universe's history. With time compressed in this way, this sentence of mine began when humans hadn't even started building the pyramids of Egypt, and it is ending in the era of artificial intelligence. It's amazing how time flies. Observing it this way, we can better understand the distance that separates certain cosmic and geological events, and this also allows us to understand what the relevance of humans is in relation to the universe. Another spoiler alert? None. You are not special. Without further delay, let's start flipping through the pages of this cosmic calendar. January 1st, exactly midnight. The fireworks begin to burst at the exact moment when everything started, the Big Bang. 12 minutes later, the fireworks are still bursting and the first atoms are already beginning to form. But everything is still very dark, which is why this period is known as the Dark Ages, lasting about 490 million years. And here we have our first reality check. As far as we know, the period of total darkness lasted almost 500 million years. Within our scale, it would be equivalent to 12 days when the first nebulae appeared, which are regions of space with hydrogen, helium, and other molecules. Nebulae are considered star nurseries, meaning it is there that they began to shine amidst the darkness. It was only at the end of January that the first galaxies began to form, and then comes a long period of cosmic boredom. The entire month of February passes without any significant events in the universe, not even a little carnival block to liven things up. Nothing. And so the situation remains throughout March and April, until finally, on May 1st, our galaxy, the Milky Way, emerges. But it is only on September 9th that within it, the solar system is born. And a few days later, finally, our home is built. On September 14th, planet Earth emerges. However, for the next 10 days of our calendar, planet Earth is a completely inhospitable environment. Life only appears here approximately on September 25th. And in October, the oldest fossils as we know known to us today appear. Bacteria and algae. By November, it is the turn of the first fossils of plants capable of photosynthesis. And it is also when the first eukaryotic beings, which have a cell with a nucleus, emerge, as well as the first rocks we know. Only then do we reach December. In other words, 11 out of the 12 months of the cosmic calendar have already passed, and we are still basically talking about rocks and extremely primitive beings. On December 1st, Earth's atmosphere begins to form. And only now, in the last month of the year, does life start to evolve at a faster pace on our planet. On December 16th, the first worms appear. On December 17th, the Cambrian period begins, which is marked by the explosion of life on Earth. First with the invertebrates, and the next day with the trilobites, the first marine arthropods, and one more day later with the fish and the first vertebrates. On December 20th, vascular plants appear, beginning to colonize the entire planet. And on the 21st, a turning point in the evolutionary scale. The first animals begin to live on solid ground. That is, it was only 10 days before the end of the cosmic calendar that life left the water. Over the following days, many animals began to appear. Until on Christmas Eve, guess what gift planet Earth received? Dinosaurs. They only began to reign on our planet in the last week of the year. A period that lasted more than 150 million years, which is equivalent to just over 3 days in our cosmic calendar. The meteor that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs fell around December 28th. And in the final stretch of the year, millions of other species continued to emerge, and the evolution of the frontal lobe in the brains of primates finally allowed the appearance of the first hominids on December 31st. And it is at this point that we need to set aside our cosmic calendar and start looking, for lack of a better expression, at the cosmic clock. Because it is precisely in the final hours of the year that the entire history of humanity takes place. At 10:30 at night, he appears, or I do. Finally, humans emerge. At 11 o'clock, our species begins to use stone tools. At 11:46 comes the mastery of fire. And at 11:59, the first cave paintings appear. In other words, there is 1 minute left for the year to end on the cosmic calendar. And we are still in the Stone Age. The countdown then begins. With 40 seconds left until the end of the year, humans develop agriculture. With 25 seconds remaining, the first cities emerge. 10 seconds. The great civilizations appear, such as those of Egypt and Mesopotamia. 9 seconds. The alphabet emerges. 8. The Code of Hammurabi, the first laws we are aware of. 7. Metallurgy with bronze. 6. Metallurgy with iron. 5. The birth of the first Buddha. 4. The birth of Christ. 3. The fall of the Roman Empire. 2. The beginning of the Crusades. 1. The arrival of Europeans in America. But hold on, now we need to work with tenths of seconds. At 11 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, and 1/10, the Gregorian calendar emerges. 2/10, William Shakespeare writes Romeo and Juliet. 3/10, Isaac Newton describes gravity. 4/10, the Enlightenment movement emerges. 5/10, the Industrial Revolution. 6/10, Napoleon Bonaparte becomes emperor. 7/10, Brazil becomes a republic and abolishes slavery. 8/10, World War I. Until at 11 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, and 9/10, humans land on the moon. And then, hold your horses, because now we are moving to the final hundredths of the year on the cosmic calendar. While you're practically popping the champagne bottle with only 9 hundredths left until the new year, Michael Jackson revolutionizes the world of music. 8 hundredths mark the end of the military dictatorship in Brazil. 7. The Berlin Wall falls. 6. Dolly the sheep is born through cloning. 5. The attack on the World Trade Center. 4. The first major social networks emerge, such as Orkut and Facebook. 3. WhatsApp is invented. 2. Scienceverse is invented. And then we reach the last hundredth of the cosmic calendar. A moment when you are there, on your phone, TV, or computer, watching this video. This is the endpoint. Or rather, it is the ellipsis of the universe. The moment when all the evolution of our galaxy, our planet, and our species finally culminates in the present. Reaching the current page of the history of everything. What a story. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this exercise helps us put into perspective the main geological and cosmic events of the universe. The option to use a calendar was made by Carl Sagan, but nothing prevents us from creating our own ways to rethink this entire period of time. We could use, I don't know, a gestation. Considering that the Big Bang happened at the exact moment of fertilization, humans would only have emerged practically when the baby is being born. If we compare it to a basketball game, they would only appear during the final buzzer of double overtime. And using the duration of this very video as a basis, at this point where I am saying this sentence, our species would still be far from appearing. In other words, the message here, as I also mentioned a little earlier in this video, is that humans are completely irrelevant in relation to the universe. We have just emerged. Everything existed long before we arrived, and it will probably continue to exist long after we are gone. But I don't want to create an existential crisis in your mind. On the contrary, think about how fascinating it is to be able to look back and see everything that has brought us to this moment. It took billions of years of transformations and evolutions to create a unique and perfect combination that gave rise to our universe, as well as our galaxy and also our planet. Even against all odds, life emerged exactly as it needed to be for us to be here exactly the way we are. And this allows us to witness the fortune that is simply to exist. Therefore, whenever you are feeling down, think that within this entire geological scale, our small day-to-day problems mean absolutely nothing. But the privilege of us being alive at this moment means everything. So let's celebrate that we have made it this far and discover together what awaits us in the next pages of the cosmic calendar. Or in other words, Happy New Year! Thank you very much and see you next time.